All right, what's up, everyone? What's up, Aza, Eku? Good to see you guys. Let's dive into it. Let's not waste any time today. I see my webcam is still not working. I couldn't get my webcam to work for some reason, but I'm already late, so whatever. We'll do it without the webcam today. Let's look at things first. I'm still mega bull. I don't think there's any reason to become unbullish here, especially here if you see the if you're wondering what all the rectangles are. That's a little experiment I'm doing with the opening range, so to say, so the first 2 hours of the day, and see how price behaves related to that. I think there's actually something. I've actually done some data analysis on something before where I checked how far from the daily open price closed. So, for example, daily open was here, like, and then where does price close, like here, and that difference is actually not much. So that indicates that very often price closes near the open, and this is something now I'm working on to do in confluence with P1 P2, just a little experiment, but I think it could give additional insights. Either way, price is still very bullish. I don't see this going down significantly anytime soon. I mean, just look at this. No stats needed, right? If you look at this, there's no stats needed to say we're going down anytime fast. Besides that, we have some pretty good supports building on around here. As you guys know, this fair value gap right there. This fair value gap right here gives really good support. I personally don't think it's gonna get. Well, maybe it will get that. Let me put it like this: if this gets tapped, it will be a very interesting area for long. But I'm personally doubting if it will get tapped anytime soon. At some point, it probably will. But okay, if it gets tapped, very nice area to look for a long. However, right now we're so bullish. You can just see all the daily low, daily low, daily low, daily low. They don't get taken out, right? Daily low, daily low, daily low. So that's a sign of extreme bull strength, where bears are simply not able to take out the previous day low, and bulls don't need to gather any significant liquidity to go down further. Now, so something like this will very likely not happen. The bear scenario or temporary bull scenario would be more something like a consolidation. But what you see here is basically just these higher lows, and what happened here after this dump, price was still like this would have been for me more like, okay, now we need to consolidate for a bit. But so far we haven't come down to any lows yet, and once again price is kind of consolidating up. So I personally don't think we're going to see any really significant retracement, or at least, well, we're going to see it at some point, but so far I'm not really seeing any yet. Let me quickly take a look at the weekly statistics. Get a further grip on things. Turn those on. All right. Let's see, because we now have obviously P1 on Monday. That one is obviously going to hold. The question is P2 going to hold? So we have it on a Wednesday. Yeah, okay. So I know Wednesdays are not behaving amazingly lately. They see it. Wednesdays going down the drain. That's highs and lows. The last 50 weeks or so, P2s have been more on Wednesday. Generally speaking, there is not a lot of chance to put it on the Wednesday. So yeah, I would say that this one needs to get taken out this week. If you purely look at time-based statistics, if you look at distance statistics, only 37.7% of the weeks go higher. So is it something I would bet a lot of money on? No. But in this case, I think there is an argument to be had or a case to be made where you say, well, it's only 37% to reach higher, but we are, it's not every day that we're so very bullishly uptrending, right? And you can see that if you open up the EMAs. I mean, geez, crazy. Here on the 1 hour, even it's not even reaching the 50 EMA. And I'm gonna get our stats on EMAs. That's why I'm looking at them a lot lately because I do think they are very, very. I think there's a good use case to be had to be made. For example, I think if the EMAs are a certain have a certain slope indicating a certain speed of going up, I do think that would influence the statistics a lot. So for example, if you see EMAs going up like this, then I would say it's a much higher probability to have positive displacement days than negative displacement days. So that's kind of how I want to use them. That you can filter on a certain slope or a certain distance to kind of use them as a certain guards to gauge sentiment. But for now, gauge bias, strength of the bias. But for now, you can see just simply that everything is very bullish. So for me, yes, it's only 37% that we will go higher. So that's not the majority of weeks, but it's not the majority of weeks that we are so bullish as we are right now. So in this case, I would be willing to make a case to say, all right, that one is possibly going to be taken out. I do see now, by the way, this fair value gap that we're filling right here on the hourly. I used to have statistics on the hourly for fair value gaps. I really wish I would still have them because then I could exactly see right now what the chances are of this thing breaking. So this is how I actually want to implement fair value gaps in a future version. So for example, say I would want to take a long here. I'm just messing around here. Say I would want to take a long here. Obviously, I wouldn't take this long, but for the sake of argument, I'm like, okay, I think the weekly high will get taken out. What I want to do is I want to incorporate then a feature, weekly high here, that will automatically check if there's any fair value gaps or order blocks, because this is an order block as well, in between, and what the likelihood is of this, because you can automatically calculate, okay, what is the likelihood of this reversing, much like I did with all the fair value gap statistics I've been sharing. But what is the chance of this one breaking before the end of, well, in this case, the week, I should say, right? So this one is, this is very likely to break before the end of the week because a lot of candles has passed, but you could even say, okay, before the end of today, right? So that's something I'm going to implement. But I think I can kind of guess it if I see how old it is. 19 bars. No, I'll be going in the dark. But this is definitely a short-term supply zone right here. So an area to look to. So I don't know if we're going to see that high break up today. What is interesting now is, let's see, 12 p.m. All right, so this is the kill zone. This is what I want to look for. This is the kill zone because 86% of New York P1s are put in this area. So that means that if price were to do something like this and take out that low here, then it's very unlikely that you're going to come back up to take this out or even take this out, right? So far we're still kind of grinding down, so I don't see any reason to jump into anything here yet. But, so if the next hour opens, so say the next hour opens right here, and we do this, then this one should be safe for until at least 8 p.m. with an 86% certainty. Well, am I saying that right? Yes, I am saying that right. So it's kind of to see, okay, what's going to happen now. so far it's not looking too strong. It also might need a breather. I mean, we've had some insane days, but regardless, this is not an area I would be looking for too long anyway. But there was one asset that I was looking to long, and that was Solana. Let's check Solana, what it's doing right now. So it did have a retrace. Daily P2, hour 9, daily P1, hour 1. The retrace is a little bit deeper than I would like to see it. Let's see what the volume is saying. That's the daily open right there. Oh, there is a point of control up there. Let me see what hour 9 is saying for Solana. Let me remove those. Oh, I'm on the week. Whoa, 87. Wow. Solana with 80% chance of more distance. Tuesday as P1. Okay, let me get back to the weekly. Let me start with the weekly first. What is the weekly at? But that's 87% to go down. But it's right. Yeah, in terms of distance, like this is just a consolidation. I mean, there is a very high chance that we're going to displace even higher or lower. So the question is, which direction will it be? If I look at this, then my money would be on higher, right? Because this is simply a very strong uptrend. But that would be a qualitative guess because we do have P2 on, because that would make P1 Wednesday. It's been 8 weeks ago. It's not completely unthinkable. We can see that it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays happen more or less the same. When Tuesdays happen a little bit more as P1 for Solana, Wednesdays a little bit less. But this is time adjusted, so the actual difference is not going to be that much. So yeah, I'm just gonna go on a limb and say that if there were to be further displacement, I would expect it to be up instead of down. The only caveat I have in that sense is that obviously Bitcoin dominance is very, very strong. So if Bitcoin decides to take a little dump, then Solana will dump a lot harder, and then obviously the weekly low is in. But Bitcoin so far has been very strong. So I do think that the weekly high for Solana is targeted as well, although I'm not extremely confident about it. But if I would have to bet, I would go for the weekly high to be targeted. So that is this high right here, simply because we're uptrending, and the trend is your friend until the end. And let's see what the daily stats were saying again. 16.8 against 72.5. That's on hybrid filter mode. Conservative filter mode would say, get that one out, 27.3. So 1 in 4. But yeah, hybrid is really not a weird thing to use, in my opinion, because it gives a more holistic view. 16.8. It's a little bit deeper of a retrace than I would like, but I still don't think it's the worst setup imaginable. So, the statistics are good. The trend is up. Let's see what hour 9 is doing. Hour 9, it has been 2 days since put in P1, so would have been nice to see a higher time frame there. Nothing crazy on first glance. Let me check here. Go to Solana. Let me check 3-hour candles. I know Asa loves those. All right, 3-hour candles, 8.5% again, 52.3. $67.7. Yeah, so this block right here is probably the least popular block to put in a pivot, either P1 or P2. So generally speaking, it would just not be the best one to. This would not be the best pivot. The only thing, obviously, now is that it's at the highs, but it's still more a trending move than it is a ranging move. So yeah, still think it's valid. I mean, the retrace is a bit deeper than I would like, but I think other than that, it's still valid. P1, hour one, much more stronger pivot than P2 at hour 9. We are uptrending, so 1 plus 1 is 2. Still a valid setup. Yeah, I still think it's valid because also because our bias for Bitcoin is also up. And the only thing, once again, I have against that is that if Bitcoin has shown that if it goes up, that because other assets can stay quite weak. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if Bitcoin goes up, and it seems it's going up a little, but if Bitcoin goes up, that Solana will necessarily follow because it simply hasn't done that. I mean, you can see that if you look at this one right here. Solana is still here, while Bitcoin is obviously, somewhere here, relatively speaking. But it's pretty normal for this stage of the market. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. You have this weekly high right here, and price is closed right on top of it, and now open right on top of it. So this is obviously 210 is a very, very important area. Let me see where the weekly low was. Weekly low right here. As our flip. All right, we're definitely going to confirm, or most likely going to confirm this one. Oh, I might have stats on that. Let me check. This thing is bugging a little bit. Let's see if it works for Solana on the weekly. Solana. All right, so either there are no fair value gaps on the weekly for Solana, or this thing is bugging. And I'm gonna say it is the latter. Hence, it is a beta. Yeah, definitely bugging. So I need to look into that. Otherwise, I could have checked how many of these actually confirm on the weekly. So on the weekly and the daily, that's actually, I have to add that as a feature, but I find that very valuable if you have an unconfirmed fair value gap. This is unconfirmed fair value gap, where you can check what the odds are of this thing confirming, which I've been sharing a couple of times already, because then you would know, okay, downside is limited to, higher than this at least, but there's a zone here where it probably wouldn't reach. But unfortunately, I cannot check it right now. I need to double check thing. I've been very busy rebuilding the whole model to prepare it for expanding into other markets, which has been an absolute pain in the ass. Like, it's a lot more work than I thought it would be. But I am almost there, and then I will release the session time frame, and then finally I can work on actual features again. Right now, it's just a lot of technical, architectural stuff. Solana looks like it wants to go for a little pump. So anyone who's in here, let's see if it works out. But for me, I think I saw Asa say it as well in the chat that if price is bullish, in this case price is bullish, and you see decent statistics, then by order of probabilities, it makes sense to take it. And maybe it will not be this one, but then you can get the next. You will win the next one, and the biases have been pretty accurate. And finally, now we get some buys again. Like these days, we're so volatile. Like if you have an opening move like this or a move like this, then you're pretty much exhausted already. So luckily now we have some more normal price action. So this one is running. Asa Sol long from 215, weekly VWAP. Yeah, it looks like a good one so far. Statistically, it makes sense to take out the high more than it takes to take out the daily low. So this one looks good. Let's actually look at Solana on the weekly time frame, what that one thing is saying. Or we can first check this one. So far looking good. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. It's pumping, nice. Something we've been expecting. So because also it's Thursday, right? And if we expect the how do you call it, the weekly high to be taken out, then we have Thursday, Friday. Well, say 3 more days to do it. Saturday is probably not going to do it, but you never know in the bull market. Even Saturdays can be crazy. All right, so now you have this. Let's see what we have here. Where I put FX market sessions. So this is going to show us the New York session. This is 2 p.m. Yeah, so basically, as soon as this would happen, and as soon as the next 30-minute candle will take out this candle's high, then this level here should get protected. Because in 86% of the case, because then what you would have is that the session P2 would be at hour 3 UTC, so 3 p.m. UTC, and P1 would be at 2 p.m. UTC. And as we know, in this green box here is 86% of the first pivots on the New York session are in this box right there. But right now we're not out of the green, are out of the blue yet, because price could still do this, obviously. But I see now that New York did take the London high, and it's a slight minority. I think it's about 40% of the time does New York sweep the London high and then also sweep the London low. And actually, I see now that it was already the case at the start of it. So at least downside seems to be limited now, because doing this would be the lesser probability play, albeit a little bit slightly. It's not. New York actually does it quite often, most often from all sessions. And these are statistics I will also include in the dashboard. But it is a little bit less probable. But let's see. For now, it looks like it's going for the lows. Definitely some volatility incoming, because 2 p.m., this is also the hour with the most volatility. But what I wanted to do is go to Solana on the weekly. Again, and all right, already checked that. Yeah, it was P2 on Wednesday. So that would have to become P1. You can see if you go back just what I said that New York, it's a slight minority where New York takes both the high and the low. So we go to the last ones here. New York took the London high. Here you see New York took the London low, but not the London high, although it came very, very close. New York took the London high, not the London low. New York took the London high, but not the London low. I mean, but this is clearly a very trending move. Here was the opposite, but Saturday, not going to count that one. Here it actually took both. But you can see that in this case, London was did nothing, right? And then New York took both. Even here, New York took only one, the high. New York took the high. So you see, actually, especially lately, here again, New York took the high, but not the low. So that's what I mean when I say, okay, if it takes the high, then probabilities seem a little bit lower that it takes the low. Or they are lower that it takes the low. And as I'm saying that, it's taking a mighty dump. So what you often see is that either it just continues, which it's not doing right now, or it does something like this and then slightly stops before the low, it seems like. But if both high and low were to be taken from a previous session, then it is going to be during the New York session, because that's simply when it happens most often. Yeah, right now, this is obviously not a great reaction. Although it took some liquidity here, so it might definitely still bounce. But now we have a P1 for the session in the same 30-minute block. So the next 30-minute candle is going to be important, which opens only in 20 minutes. But the same still goes. So if you hold this now, and then whichever you take out first, like this, in the next 30-minute blocks, that one is most likely going to be the direction for the remainder of the session. So if we go down lower and then we take this, then yeah, lower is simply more likely. Solana is probably also nuking right now. Let me check. Yeah, not looking too great, not gonna lie. Still alive, albeit barely. So one of the things I've been looking at, and this is what I hinted at the start, are these opening ranges. So I found some stuff. I'm just studying up, looking around. And what you can see really often, yeah, so this doesn't look like a bad high to me at all. Let's see, hour 7, Bitcoin, let me check, because now we have data. We have P2 at hour 14, P1 at hour 7. Yeah, so this is actually a better pivot. That high is a much better pivot than the low is. Hour 7 is not a great pivot. So purely statistically, from that speaking, it makes more sense to take out this one and to keep this as the high. Although not by a lot, obviously, we're talking about 40%, still not a majority, but this is a kill zone. So if you take these two, it's 56, and then with that one, 66. Yeah, so likely not looking good for the longs, and a little bit of consolidation will be needed. If we do go down, then the next best thing I am personally would be looking for is this low right here. I mean, we have to react. So if the thing is indeed going lower, right now so far it's just consolidating very, very tightly, so there's not much to say. But say it does go lower, so it does take out that low. Where are we looking? I am personally looking at this area right here. So previous day low and this fair value gap. It's as I said, there is a low. It's not the highest probability to take it out because you've just been like going up, trending up with these daily lows, not taking any of them out. And you have, this would be the first time within, let me check. Here you took it out last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 candles that you take out a daily low. That's why I'm saying, okay, I'm not really sure if you get this out because as long as you don't have any significant retracement, obviously upside is the most likely. But if we do get it, because obviously if now this low wouldn't hold, then I personally wouldn't long there, then what am I looking at next? Then I would be looking at this previous daily low to hold. I do think this is still going to get taken out later this week. So then hopefully you could see something like this. Ideally, it would be a tap of that fair value gap, but I don't know if that's too much to ask because that fair value gap is very likely to give a reaction. Let me actually just show you the post. This is on Discord as well, but otherwise, this is easier for me to just show you. So this fair value gap, so this is the chances of it reversing before or filling before the end of this week, 17.9%. So very low chance to tap all the way here before the end of the week, right? So before this point, there is a 17.9% chance that we're actually gonna tap this. So I personally don't think that's gonna happen because that would happen in less than 1 out of 5 occasions. So that's probably not gonna happen. But if we do get it, then what we can see mostly from, well, you can see that from here. So there's 75.1%, or let me just check this one. Here we have 75.1% of fair value gaps before the end of the week that are, and by the way, this is filtered for days, daily fair value gaps that are bigger than 4%. So this one is 4% in size. And what do I mean with that? I'll just show you because I have been getting this question. It's simply this, right? It's 4% in size. Fair value gaps bigger than 4% in size. If they get a first tap, you can see that there's a big difference in, or let me put it like this, a lot of fair value gaps, these fair value gaps get a first tap very soon, but to fill them fully or reverse takes a much longer time, which indicates that there is, in between that these zones, that basically just means that there's a lot of time in between reversing or filling it fully and having the first tap, which means that most likely you have some kind of reaction after a first tap of such a fair value gaps. So these big ones, usually give a much stronger reaction if I just purely look at the data than small fair value gaps, which is not a weird thing at all to think. So I would be looking at that fair value gap as the ideal place to go for a long. I would say that's a high probability area. All right, so this thing is now going to take out the daily low probably. So long is going to get stopped out, unfortunately, but it's a part of it. But yeah, this is a move with intention, I would say. And this is why I would really like to have these statistics on the hourly. We used to have them. I know that the reason I had to delete them is because the data model got so big that the way I'm computing them, it was not able to do it anymore for the hourly. So I have to. It will be possible, but I have to change how I calculate them because we can see that we now had this very nice reaction from this hourly fair value gap, right? And this is also one of the things what I said earlier that I want to include in the platform, that it will automatically recognize that, say you want to target this, that you can automatically say, that the system will automatically say, hey, there's a fair value gap in between, and it only has a, I don't know, X% chance of reversing before the end of the day. So in this case, that gave a really nice reaction. Probably going to pay more attention to even hourly ones. This is usually not what you want to see. So low taken. Nice thing about it though is that is according to the statistics, right? Because hour 7 is a really, really shitty one. I find that hour 7 only holds if you, because I think we had one not too long ago. Let me check. Yeah, we had one here. usually holds during like more rangy environments. So you have that range, this local range, we're probably now going back into. And then we took liquidity here and went to the other side of the range. And then usually these things will hold. But let's, right now, while we're at it, let me check. Solana is probably stopped out by now. Yeah, well, it stopped out. Hour 9, hour 14. And this is actually why I want to have the opening range statistics and how far the statistics on how far from the open it closes. Because if you look at this, where did I have it? So these are all the opening ranges. Let me just remove the yellow ones. Keep things simple. Because you can see, for example, here, and this kind of thing you see quite a lot, where because we have to remember that this. So here you have the opening range. So the opening range is simply the first 2 hours. So the first 2 hours low to high. So these are the first 2 hours. So then this is the opening range, so to say. It doesn't have to be a range, as in the sideways consolidation. But so we have to obviously understand that these kind of moves, like these very impulsive moves, are not the norm. They happen less often, and I do also think they can tell us something about when a pivot is more likely to hold and when a pivot is less likely to hold. Because I do think there's a certain location where, for example, you have P1 here, you want it to be at a certain location of the opening range for it to have a higher probability of holding. So if we, for example, check here, this was the open, and then price here went all the way down. And then we had this sweep of the lows, which is actually what we were looking for, because I remember here on Monday we had that hour 10 P2, which is a shitty low, and then we went down. And what we were looking for is to take it out around New York. We took it out during hour 13, went back up, and then opened very close to that. Let me just mark that out. Closed pretty. The close was pretty near the open, right? Pretty close to the open. And I find that this kind of thing happens quite a bit. Here we actually had a really nice tap of that opening range. Now we can kind of see it again that, you just levitating around that open. And I want to see is like how often do we have that kind of price action? And I do think that it's actually quite a lot. So I want to put statistics up, maybe even in the distance statistics page. Maybe I'll just put it in the next update actually. So here is Saturday, not interested. But here you can see the same thing, right? We had that open and then kind of revolved, went up a little, but then closed very nearby the open. Here again, open, went down, and then bam, did the same thing. And then obviously during ranging environments here, here the opening range is massive. So obviously I'm not going to hold that. But I do think there's a certain characteristic. So here, for example, hour 1 held, which is within the first 2 hours. So that's a high likely P1 in terms of time. But it was also accompanied with an explosive breakout from what do you call it, that opening range right there. Whereas the other ones are kind of, this is obviously not very convincing. Even this one right here, still slowing down quite a bit here at the lows. But you can see how often it stays around that opening range. So I could foresee a strategy there where, given a certain set of how you call it, conditions meet, that as soon price deviates above or below this, that you're actually looking to trade back towards that opening range, depending on how often, obviously, it happens. But I do feel this happens quite a lot. even here, almost took out P1 there. But even here, you see it goes back to that opening range. All right, this is Saturday. Not interested in Saturdays. I mean, this is a really big opening range. But you can see it kind of closes back there. This one, in this case, had a nice one. So these statistics, I'm actually going to gather some more on. Maybe I'll put it in the next release. The next release is almost ready. I hope to have it ready by tomorrow. But I do think this one would be very useful, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that because I think you can see it, how often this happens. The price just kind of seeks that opening range again. So it would not even be weird to think that now price today would do something like, I don't know, something like this, right? Where it tries to go back there later on. Something similar is this. Let's see if that will happen. So this is something I'm going to include. But other than that, I think price also needs to consolidate a little bit. I mean, at some point you would say this thing has to consolidate. This thing has been on an absolute tear. I see no reason to take any big shorts, zero. But with now the lows taken out, I don't think there's any other trades to be had today. Also very consolidating so far. So I personally am not looking for anything anymore. Let me do one final check on the multi-time frame page, but I don't expect to find anything very interesting. No, that's selling Solana. Aza, I might get that 87.4K entry on Bitcoin right now. That would be even before, yeah. Yeah, yeah, might. Yeah, I'd personally wait for it. I would not take any longs here myself. See what the liquidity levels are. Yeah, so this one is not gonna get a hit anytime soon. I don't see it happening. Oops. But so one of the reasons why obviously I wouldn't take any longs is because of what I said earlier. Because right now we have that. Oh, not yet. If the next candle, but it seems very likely that it will. So if the next candle, next 30-minute candle takes this low right here, then this upside becomes increasingly less likely, and it seems very likely that it will do so. EVP gonna no clear naked daily point of controls below us. Nothing there. I would still assume that the previous day low will hold. So this one, I don't expect this one to lose. Might not even, or probably not even tap it. Honestly, what I think will most likely happen is that Bitcoin will have some sort of consolidation day. which you see it's been increasingly doing. And you can really see that. So one of the things I actually integrated into my uh, personal version, or at least in my test version, is this indicator, which is basically how do you call it? A volatility indicator. Let me delete volume. So if it's high, it means a lot of volatility, and what you get, and check what so this means there was a lot of volatility, would make sense because we're now all the way up. It basically measures the width of the Bollinger Bands or something. It works pretty well. I've actually integrated it into the dashboard to try and explain when bigger moves happen and when smaller moves happen, and it actually works pretty well. I just haven't gotten around to integrating it in the actual version in any meaningful way, but I might do it later. But what you see here is, we're topped out now. And if you look at previous times, we've topped out. Let me check. I mean, here we topped out. Here we pretty much topped out, right? So here, and you can see then consolidation followed. Here we topped out, consolidation followed. Here we topped out. I mean, it went going on for a while. This one, actually no consolidation, but this was really at the end of the blow off top. Here, consolidation. Here, consolidation. Here, consolidation. Right, and so on and so on. Here, consolidation. Right, so this just means that the market has been very volatile for a while. And it's not that it's a magic predictor or something. This only shows that the market has been very volatile. And obviously, when the market has been very volatile, price usually needs to cool down a little bit. So if anything, I would not expect a big rate or a big reversal here, but a little bit of some kind of range here would not be a weird idea. Besides this indicator, just it seems like it's about time to have some sort of range. Previous day low right there. I wouldn't be looking for any longs today because there is, or at least I wouldn't be looking to long the high because I don't think it's very likely that will get taken out. Now you also have this. So the way I see it is as soon as you have this fair value gap. All right. So right now already, and that, split second, taking out this high before 8 p.m. has become very, very, very unlikely, right? Because 86% of P1s are put in this block, and now we put a P2 in the block after. I'm talking about this block. So I wouldn't expect this. So this high will most likely hold for the rest of the day. So no reason to target that, at least not today. It will get taken out probably at some point. If anything, if there's a long to be had, I'd probably take it somewhere here. But not a lot further. See, it wouldn't be a bad thing to put in a range here, to be honest. I really feel like price needs a breather. 2.2% dump, -3. I think if we take the daily low, previous day low here, that will become more likely that price will need to cool off. I don't, if it goes down quite a bit, so if it goes down here, then in my opinion, dips are for buying. I would not expect a quick reversal. If anything, the deeper it goes, the faster it will reverse. But if it goes deeper, so if it would, for example, go here, then the probabilities for a consolidation increase drastically, right? Whereas if it, for example, if it would bounce from here, then that's way more bullish in the short term. Both are bullish. I expect both scenarios to end up in more upside. But if price, because here's the thing, if price doesn't need to go down that much lower in order to go higher again, that means that the bulls are very strong and they don't need to go down to grab a lot of liquidity to go higher again. Whereas if price has to go all the way here, then it wouldn't mean we're going to reverse necessarily. I still, it could, but I don't think it will. But then it means that, okay, bulls apparently needed to grab a lot of liquidity in order to go higher again. So then what's probably going to happen is that you're just going to see some form of consolidation somewhere in there. before the next leg up higher. But for now, I do think this is not the top. I do still think that we're going to take out that high. Now I do possibly tomorrow then, right? Because at the start I said that this is not a great high, combined with the fact that we're just in a very bullish environment. And one more thing that I just had on my mind that I wanted to say. Slip my mind, probably will get to that. But so I do think we still need to take this high, but then it will probably be tomorrow. I wouldn't be looking to take it out today. Maybe tomorrow we can take it out. But say we wake up tomorrow and this has retraced all the way here, then I would get a little bit more skeptical about taking the high. But as long as you kind of like hold these areas right here, then I don't see a reason why we cannot go for that for a new all-time high this week. But the deeper it goes, less likely it will be. But today will be very telling. If price just kind of more or less does this, where it just stays here, then I would say chances are pretty good to go for the high later on. But I think today is a good day to wait. Or maybe there's some bear plays. No, damn. It's crazy how weak alts are compared to. I mean, look at this compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is holding so strong, which is indicating that. And this is, by the way, also, final words on alt season. This is what I've mentioned a couple of times. If you see a chart like this, man, so many people are calling for an alt season after every little dump. Like this, we had this dump right here, and so all the crypto influencers say, "Oh, we had like the top is in. We have alt season. We have alt season." They've been saying the same here. They've been saying the same here, 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 here. I mean, they just never learn. So if you see a chart like this, then it's best to just assume it will keep on going up until it doesn't, right? And what I mean with until it doesn't is that it does something like, something proper like this, and it's not doing anything. I mean, look at this. All the lows are staying intact, all of them. So there's no reason to assume that it will go down anytime soon. So this is actually why, there could be a case to be made that as soon as I wouldn't short Bitcoin right now. Let me put it like this: I would not short Bitcoin in this stage. Even now, if it goes lower, I personally wouldn't care missing that move. But I would definitely short alts. I've also seen Tim doing that in the chat for the same reason, right? Because Bitcoin dominance is going up. That means that if Bitcoin is going sideways or slightly downwards, and Bitcoin dominance is going up, which right now it's at 0%, but in a general sense, you see it's going up. That means that alts will be bleeding a lot more, right? So alts are a lot weaker, so it does make sense to look for shorts on alts, but it doesn't make sense to look for shorts on Bitcoin, in my opinion. Still not. So I wouldn't do that. This rotation at some point will, wow. Clearly just ranging right there. You see, they all have kind of like a lot of them have the same profile, where alts are at range highs. So it makes sense they retrace there. But for me, this day is simply, now that we took out the lows and Sol got stopped out, this is simply a day to wait, and then tomorrow see if price can form some sort of base. If price were to dump really, really bigly from here, which I think is unlikely, but if it were to do so, then once again, this fair value gap is something I would very, very kindly or gladly long. If price would dump, I already have an alert there. So if price would dump to here, that would be an amazing long in my book. But what I think is more likely is that price is just going to consolidate here for a bit before doing something. So just a waiting game for now. I think the place for today was shorts on altcoins, not on Bitcoin. Oh, this is actually an interesting one. Let me check this one. Let me find one more thing, check ADA. So because ADA Cardano printed this bad boy right here for value gaps. All right, that one I need to fix. I'll look into that. Uh, ADA Cardano. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. What's the end of this week? It's 17th of November. So what are the chances of this thing being filled by the end of this week? 50% and 30% to reverse. But this thing is pretty big by the looks of it. So what I would like to do is filter for, oh man, this thing is huge, 13%. Unfortunately, that's not in the online version yet. I will actually put that in the online version right after the stream so we can filter for this. Because I expect what you're going to see is if you filter for fair value gaps higher than 13%, that in size, that this is going to be a lot lower, right? A lot lower. So say this is, I don't know, 20%. I mean, even 30% is already a minority, right? So what this is saying is that you have the low of the candle here. We have the end of the week right here. What it's saying is that there's a 30% chance that the price will close below here before the end of the week. So somewhere here. So you know that here, this would have to be an interesting one. So prices end ranging right above that. I don't know if you can call it the demand zone because it's a fair value gap. The price is definitely ranging here. So it would be very interesting to possibly look for some longs here to take them back into the range and, up to the higher premium areas of that. So because this is only a 30% chance to be filled, 50% or to close below it, 50% chance to tap this, but this is taking into account all fair value gaps. Like I said, if you filter on fair value gaps higher than bigger than 10% in size, I think this is going to be a lot less, a lot less. So a lot less probability that this thing will be lost, this low right here, as in close below it. And even tapping this would probably be a lot lower probability. But I'm going to look into that after the stream. I'm going to look into that right now, and I'm going to upload a version to the beta environment where everyone can filter on fair value gap size. Because I do think it's, the higher the fair value gap, the higher the chances you're going to get a reaction from there. Obviously, we already had that first tap. Nice first tap here. Broke that. And this is also not looking too bad at all. I do think this could be a nice area to look for long, if I'm not lying. I'm not gonna lie. Once again, because you have this, local break of structure here, and then we have this fair value gap here with an order block, so with demand. The price is kind of like easing back into that. So going here to the other side of the range is really not a weird play at all. The only danger, once again, is that Bitcoin dominance is so strong, which means alts are so weak, right? But I'm going to log off and I'm going to check what the probabilities are of tapping this before the end of the week and what the probability is of closing below it before the end of the week for value gaps that are pretty big. So I'm going to look into that. Other than that, maybe something will come out of that. If not, I would personally wait for tomorrow. Bias is still up, at least for Bitcoin. Once again, alts are remarkably strong. For Bitcoin, my opinion is longs only. For altcoins, I would be much more aggressive on shorts as well because they're obviously a lot weaker. All right, guys. But Tim is a legend. He doesn't short because the market goes down. The market goes down because he's short. Yeah, good point. Good point. Tim likes to Tim likes to do it like that. All right, guys. I'm gonna log off and I'm gonna give you the statistics on this fair value gap right here for Cardano. A very interesting one, actually. This might be a very good setup for a potential long. Because also you can see that price is ranging here. You have that, that opening range that I talked about. We went down, we tapped this fair value gap. This is probably going to hold. It does seem like a lot of things are lining up. So I'm going to dive into that when I log off. I want to thank you for watching, guys. I'm going to hopefully be done with the feature, the rebuild of the technical platform tomorrow, which is going to allow me to possibly upload the session statistics tomorrow. And then from there, I can finally work on some features again, which is stuff I want to do. And I'll be pretty much ready to scale into other markets. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Unfortunately, our so long didn't work out, but it's a part of it. The next one we'll get. Thank you, guys, and catch you on the next one.